Hi, this is gonna be a special video. I'm gonna share the entirety of my spiritual journey. Since the spiritual journey is something that encompasses all areas of our lives, obviously I'm gonna have to share some of the challenges I faced throughout mine. I have two main goals for this video. One of them is being fully sincere about who I am, the background I have, and the limitations that I carry. But this video is also meant to inspire people, because regardless of how hard our lives can get, there are ways out of it. There are paths for us to be happy and joyful. And I truly wish the joy of knowing and experiencing the divine to reach all of us. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a nice comment of something you would like to see on the next video. And without spending any money, the absolute best thing you can do for me is watching this video until the end. If you wish to support me further, there are one-time donations that can be done through PayPal and also the super thanks here on YouTube. And the main place is on Patreon, where subscribing for $8.88 a month, you get a monthly ritual done by me for the benefit of all patrons. By the way, I'm deeply thankful to all patrons. Plus, you get the rituals I do, you get to chat with me as much as you want, plus some exclusive videos. So please come to the Patreon. Since a spiritual journey is something so encompassing, I have to go back to my early years. When I was a child, I was a happy child. I was excited and curious, and I loved to learn. I learned to read before school taught me, just because I asked my great-grandmother to teach me, and we would read the newspaper and she would teach me the words. And I was very curious, but I was also very sensitive, as I have always been. I don't know exactly at what age, but I remember that very early I was questioning the great questions of the universe, the big philosophical questions, the great existential questions that we all have to face. I was always curious, and it always gave me immense awe. But it also gave me immense fear, for I didn't have the answers I so wanted. But I've always wanted to know absolute truth. I've always needed to understand the universe that I live in. During my adolescence, my first tries of doing this led me to becoming an atheist. I was raised in a spiritism kind of family, followers of Allan Kardec, but I fully rejected it even as a child, and I didn't believe in spirits or ghosts or anything. Actually, at some point in my adolescence, I became a nihilist. I saw no purpose in life. I was deeply depressed. I didn't have any enjoyment in my school. I had a lot of friends. I was a popular kid, but it was a fake persona of mine that had that popularity. And that persona had to maintain an appearance of happiness, while internally I was suffering a lot. From 12 years old to 19, I was deeply depressed, and I had suicidal ideation almost every day. Life was unbearable. I saw no purpose for it, and I saw no path for me to go forward with a happy life. But I was still curious, and eventually my research led me to listening to Alan Watts and Terence McKenna, two great philosophers that greatly inspired me in my journey. It was around then that I found out that some people claim that psychedelic mushrooms have some magical effects that can get us in touch with spirituality. And Terence McKenna was a great advisor for this. I was intrigued, and I began researching a bunch of experiences of different people, and I saw that a lot of people were claiming to have the most important experiences over their lives with this stuff. Others were saying that they met God, or that they felt an immense love, and awesome things like that. But I was skeptical. I didn't fully believe in it, but it seemed fun. So I decided to try it out, and I took 5 dried grams, which is a big, heavy dose, and that completely changed my life forever. It took a while for it to hit, but once it did, it was so transformative. At some point, I felt I was talking with God, even though a few hours before I wouldn't have believed in God or anything. At some point, I saw a giant face being green, pink, and yellow, and I asked its name, and it said Shiva. Once again, I was an atheist and I had no connection to Hinduism. But what, 8, 9 years later, I would find out in Kashmir Shaivism, like 99% of the philosophy that I had come to believe in. And those are exactly a group that worship Shiva. After that experience, for 2 years and a few extra months, I was extremely happy. It was the first time in my life I had felt truly joyous. I was feeling loved by the divine. My experience had taught me divine oneness and the love that this divine has towards each part of its manifestation. To be fair, that first experience taught me so much. It's hard to even remember all of it. I saw the deep responsibility I had over my own life, how it was me who was creating a lot of the suffering that I experienced. On top of the spiritual understanding, the experience grew my autonomy and sense of responsibility. It warned me of certain people in my life. It showed me the enormous field of possibilities present in the eternal now. It showed me how much beauty could be experienced, how many wonderful futures were possible for me. It also put me in a place of acceptance towards what life is and gave me a certainty that I always want to be as close as I can to a pure view of reality, no matter how hard it is to face it. Ever since, I've always preferred a painful truth over a comforting lie. It's hard to explain the profound identity shift that happened within me, but the most important were showing me that it's possible to live happy and fulfilled. While in that state, even sadness was joyful, not because it didn't hurt, it was still sad after all, but it didn't take away the underlying joy of living and learning. I remember sometimes there was an underlying awe and wonder even during sadness or pain, which is why in the spiritual path we aim at perceiving the whole of reality, whatever come to us, without judgment, without running away or grasping towards it, only accepting things as they are and responding accordingly. I further saw how the whole of life is like a game created by the divine where we are supposed to learn, grow, and have fun. I saw how all parts of my life were worth it for me to have this realization that I was having. So, in this game, as we progress and learn our lessons, we are tested on it. And if we can actually act upon the knowledge we supposedly learned, we prove ourselves ready for the next chapters. I can still clearly see the clear, let's say, level shifts that I've been through throughout my life. So I felt loved, I felt deep gratitude. I also had to face a bunch of bad stuff. I was a horrible person. I was sexist. I used to bully some of my friends, people that I liked, but I still bullied them. I was a mess, to be honest, and I had to work a lot on myself. And it's what I began doing. At first, from a psychological standpoint, I would identify which thoughts or ideas were triggering stronger and destructive emotions, and I began nipping those thoughts. I did it mostly through philosophy, since the foundations of what I believe were established in this experience. I began using it at many corners of my mind. I would basically train myself to begin having new triggers, instead of the old ones that used to lead me into sadness or self-destructive behaviors. So, one step prior to the trigger, I began putting, let's say, positive triggers that
reminded me of the divine oneness that I had experienced. So I used that philosophical understanding to guide my ethics at any point I wasn't sure how to go on. It wasn't easy, and I still have patterns of thought and behavior to work through, and I will continue to do so. But back then, first I had to let go of aggressive behaviors, then I had to learn to forgive myself and others, and then began having some discipline towards achieving my goals. The mushroom truly saved my life from the continuous depressive state which was, back then, my normal, and was also everything that I could expect for a future.
At the time, I was 19 years old, so that's 10 years ago. And from that point on, I had certainty of the divine. And I had been proven how it is to fully live a happy and fulfilled life in connection with the divine. The way I see it, let's look at Kabbalah over here, quick. Everyone is aware of Malkut. It's the physical plane. Even an atheist is aware of the material plane. My experience taught me divine love and taught me of oneness. So it showed me a divine state of existence and was sufficient to fuel my soul, to keep working on myself, to keep researching, to keep learning, to keep improving, so that I could live more and more of that bliss that I had tasted. But I had ignored all the planes in between. So I didn't believe in any sort of entities or anything of the kind, which would have made me reject magic for most of my life. It was only after letting go of the things I knew I should do, but didn't want to or didn't have the encouragement to, that I began to access this divine state of being while in my normal life, while sober and under no influence or anything rather than a ritual.
But even without grasping these intermediate states, I felt deeply blessed by being shown oneness. And if not for that very experience, I'm sure I wouldn't be half of the magician I am. As said before, after the experience, I tasted paradise for a few years.
But then life came at me, and the project I was doing at the time that was doing well ended up being shut down, and it wasn't possible to move on, so I didn't know what I was going to do with my life financially. And I tried different stuff, but I was losing the state of connection and easygoing and being present and being joyous with life.
The main things that threw me back into suffering, into a state of identification with this limited self, this body, this mind, this group of experiences, were mostly financial and love anxieties. The first regarding my fear of not being able to sustain myself with something that I enjoyed doing. The latter regarding the fear of not being able to live a happy and fulfilled romantic relationship.
To be fair, I came out of the mushroom experience with a knowing that I should begin reading, meditating, and doing exercises, but I didn't. Probably because I was feeling so happy already that, I'm probably not going to need it. I'm already being great. I also did the mistake of thinking that I was never fall from it again. Oh, what a rookie mistake. And yeah, once I did, it was hard, and it took many years for me to get back to it. Luckily, eventually I got into magic. And with the discipline of reading, meditation, exercise, plus the magical practices, I began to gain back access to that divine state of being where you simply are and you're happy to be and you're excited about life and you're curious because you know so little, so there's so much we can learn and everything is so exciting and we can learn from everyone, and everyone is such a beautiful part of this universe and we're grateful for all of it. The mere chance of being alive is enough for enormous gratefulness. It's also a state where everything seems to go your way. You luck out left and right, everything goes according to your wishes, sometimes even wishes that you didn't know you had. So magic was what got me once again to that state. I should say, there was a period in between where, after I had lost the access to this divine state, I was desperate to get back to it. But since I wasn't doing the meditation, the studying, the exercise, the eating a little better, I wasn't able to do it on my own. And I was seeking in similar things to what I had done before, which was psychedelics. And that led me to getting hospitalized in a psych ward. I took MDMA for 3 or 4 days straight, and I had a breakdown, a psychological breakdown. So things did get really dark in my life. And I had to face a lot of stuff. And I'm not perfect. I still have a lot to learn, a lot to develop. I recently have been going through some tough times, and I'm once again feeling a bit dualistic, a bit individual and not whole. But that's alright, because I know I have it within me to get back to that state. So I guess the main purpose of this video is so everyone that watches it, be sure that even if you're facing a really hard time and you see no way out, life has a way out. No one is meant to suffer. Everything that's created within the universe has a purpose, and the fulfillment of that purpose is meant to be joyous to the individual living it. So if you're not feeling joyous right now, take that as a sign that you're not following your true purpose, your true will, your divine mission, which is what's genuine and natural for you to want to do and explore. All you need to do is be genuine with what you are and represent yourself accordingly towards people. So yeah, I just wanted to give this history about myself from before magic, because actually spirituality is something that's in my life from way before magic. But it was magic that allowed me to integrate a divine state into my day-to-day life in a healthy and sustainable manner. So I hope you enjoy getting to know a bit more about myself. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and come to the Patreon. I believe you're going to enjoy our monthly rituals, and I really appreciate all the help. It's truly a dream of mine to be able to live off of this, because this understanding that I had for the last 10 years, I have been trying to share this with as much people as I can. And being able to generate an income out of that is amazing, and I am truly thankful to all of my patrons. And I hope you can be the next. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Goodbye.